Hey guys, Greg here, Bone Tactical. Now, everybody's wanting a professional opinion on this Trump assassination attempt. I've been analyzing the footage for a few days and seeing everything that I could tell so I could give the full perspective. I wanted to not just jump right into this, and I wanted to really share with you guys as much information that the average person probably won't be able to tell. Just to start off, let me say I was actually in the US at the time that this happened, which a lot of you guys know I operate overseas a lot, but I was in a metropolitan area, a pretty big city in Florida, and I was actually filming for the YouTube channel about civil unrest and what to do and how to get out of an urban area in civil unrest or during civil unrest, which that video will be coming in a couple months. It's a pretty big production to the Gray Man Theory, the real Gray Man Theory playlist here on the channel. Anyway, the way that I found out about it was, walking through the city here, going from one part to another, and this lady in an apartment complex sticks her head out of the window and screams a profanity and Biden, basically screw Biden in much more intense terms, and started screaming it and going crazy. People on the street are looking up. This is a very nice area of this city that I was in. And it's not something that was common at all. And so I just kind of thought to myself, man, people are crazy, which I had been thinking the whole day, just situational awareness down. And we can see in the Trump video, everybody's situational awareness was just horrible. So I'd been noticing all day, crazy people everywhere, situational awareness way down. And these are takes that I get when I go to a city in America. That was how I found out about it. And before I get into this detailed analyzation of what actually happened and what we need to do as Americans and as civilians, what you can do, and really what will really help us as a nation, I'm going to first start off by saying there's so many YouTubers out there today that are fear mongers, that are just trying to create division and separation in our country with their videos. They're posting videos saying, wait for this particular debate. There's going to be something crazy is going to happen, and this other thing is going to be big, and I'm predicting a civil war and all this kind of stuff. Guys, let's try and be positive. And that's what I'm going to do right now is, this is a terrible situation, and it was a complete failure in our law enforcement community. Absolutely. I'm going to open the discussion also saying that there's going to be a lot of people, especially with my fans and followers out there, that are going to be saying, is this a false flag? They're going to be wanting to know whether I think that this was staged. And I'm going to leave that open as a possibility for you guys that want to believe that. What I will say is you guys have to be very careful. There's not enough information available, and the media skews absolutely everything. So we really don't have enough information to say one way or the other. I don't see anything that's determining that for sure it was faked, anything like that. But all of the footage I watched is inconclusive as far as coming to a decision on whether it's real or not. But there are some things that are very real that I'm going to share with you that you guys probably may not have picked up on. And I'm just going to be kind of stating facts in this video. So what I could tell from the footage, and like I'm finishing off saying that those of you that think it's fake or not fake, doesn't matter. Yes, there's all kinds of artificial intelligence, deep fake technology that can be used for creating videos, anything. Okay, but let's not even discuss that, because there was, from what we can tell, shots fired at the president. There were people in the crowd that were hit behind the president. The angle and the trajectory of the bullets, the caliber that was being used and mentioned, everything seems to line up pretty good. The first glaringly huge bright thing that we can see is that the shooter was incredibly unskilled, just incredibly unskilled. The shooter had I would almost say no skill whatsoever. It's amazing that this person was able to fire this carbine or rifle. AR-15 is what they're saying. It would stand to reason that it was a 223. It would stand to reason that it was a semi-automatic, but that doesn't make it an AR-15. It could have been so many different things. Anyway, if it was an AR-15, it would fit what I saw in the videos. And there's so many things that tell us that both the law enforcement officers, especially the Secret Service, were just absolutely undertrained and they failed miserably at their job. And why am I saying this? I'm definitely not bashing on anybody, guys, at all. So what do we need here? We need to support law enforcement training, right? And I'll get into that in at the end of the video. I'll discuss my recommendations. Let me just analyze play by play what's going on with this situation from what I can tell and from what information only a couple days later is available. I have seen some footage that probably some of you guys haven't seen. You know, being a security professional, I was analyzing a lot of different footage and different things because of the fact that so many people want this information and professional opinion. So here it goes. The gentleman had way too much time to get on the roof, spent way too much time flopping around like a fish on the roof in an incredibly open area. Now, let me tell you, as a private security contractor, had that location been my area to secure, that roof would have been cataloged. There would have been no access to the roof because there would have been counter assault team members actually watching the movements to that roof, not to and from, because nobody would be able to get to that roof. All right. So the sniper team, there's going to be counter assault teams if you're doing it right, and then there's going to be sniper teams. Your counter assault teams are prepared to counter an assault. Your sniper teams are prepared to counter another person on a precision rifle. Well, this guy didn't have a precision rifle. He was not a good shooter. We know he wasn't a good shooter because it appears that he started with headshots. A good shooter would have maybe tried a couple body shots first, right? And then quickly a follow-up headshot if it was possible. A good shooter really almost couldn't miss from the range. We're looking at, I don't know, 120, between 120 and 160 yards probably. So the shooter never should have been able to get on that roof. There were people in the crowd that saw the shooter way before he took the shot, possibly 2 minutes before he took the shot. Or shots, I should say. It seemed like he was hurried taking the shots. Still no excuse. There's no way a trained shooter could miss from that distance, short of gross malfunction on the part of the equipment, which isn't what happened. And the location that the shooter chose, he was just completely open. If there was anybody who had minimal training that was in law enforcement that would have been there, minimal training and experience is probably a huge factor. We'll get into that as well. We're just analyzing the shooter right now. We're not analyzing the law enforcement yet. But they would never have let him get to where he was at. He was wide out in the open. So we can tell, first of all, this guy has no limited experience. He maybe had a couple months practicing. I don't know. He didn't have any official or real deal training. He at least didn't have enough to make it where it was muscle memory. He had no understanding of tactics and subterfuge. He was possibly wearing like a gray camouflage, maybe like a multicam black, probably something along the lines of like a gray or light blue digital. I mean, it doesn't matter. He has no idea what he's doing with tactics or subterfuge. Camouflage is something you would never wear in that situation, right? You would want to have Trump stuff on, probably. I'm not going to get into anything that could help somebody in the future doing any harm, so we're not going to discuss that. But anyway, just having camo on and the colors that he had on, the clothing that he had on, and then moving towards the position that he was moving towards while he was getting on the roof. Anybody that was around who was even semi-professional security personnel would have taken him out and arrested him, taken him down. You wouldn't have had to shoot him at that point. But he was able to get on the roof. He was able to flop around on the roof. He was able to pull a weapon out. And then he was able to take aim and fire shots. Maybe not super carefully, but it doesn't take but a couple seconds. If he was trained, the former president would be dead, unfortunately. So thank God that um, he was incredibly unskilled. Just because we don't want to promote anybody's death, we don't want anybody dying. We don't want to. Not that I'm either for or against Trump. I'm not weighing my political opinions here. I think one of the greatest things about being an American is that we have the right to have our opinion, and we have the right to keep it to ourselves as well. So I don't think that there's any Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln running for president this year, or hasn't been in a while. So I haven't got overly ecstatic about wanting to vote for anybody. But Ben Franklin had a quote about exchanging liberty for temporary security. And that's what we're going to look at with law enforcement when we start getting into law enforcement. So what we're doing as a people with what we're allowing law enforcement, what we have allowed law enforcement in our country to become, is we've exchanged our liberty for maybe a false or temporary sense of security. You've got to understand that the United States was founded on the principles of self-sustenance, and we didn't have a police force to start off. And why was that? Because men were men back then. They wanted to do their own policing, and that's just how things were done. And it was obviously a novel concept, and if we had men like that, if we had enough men like those men that I've just recently mentioned in our society today, we wouldn't need a police force. The reason that we need a police force is because people don't want to police themselves. They want to pay somebody else to do it. They're lazy. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the courage. They don't have the charisma. And, that's what happens when you let somebody else. Now we'll discuss a little bit about what actually happened with law enforcement. So we have this guy, and they did have many law enforcement personnel there. There was local police. There was all kinds of different law enforcement personnel there. And it looked to me like there were undercover people in the crowd as well, plus the Secret Service tactical teams. I noticed at least, at minimum, 2 tactical teams, and I'm not going to discuss anything that will give away or jeopardize any kind of a Secret Service or tactical movements. So I'm just going to discuss what's publicly available and proven information here. And we can tell definitely there was what we would consider to be a counter assault team and a sniper team, and these teams were just wildly underprepared for the situation. The gentlemen that were on the roof with precision rifles, a sniper and spotter, and I'm doing this because these guys just did not live up to the names that I'm mentioning, but they had a precision rifle, right? One of the guys had a precision rifle in like what looked like a hog saddle. I don't think that I would have picked the exact position or the setup that these guys had. They were way out in the open, and it didn't look as stable as it could have been, or comfortable as it could have been, or movable, the rifle. But these guys probably didn't think that there was going to be a real threat. And so the first thing we'll discuss is complacency. And you can tell from the position of the precision rifle guys that they were being complacent. They probably set up and take down a lot, and they just threw the rifle up and didn't really take the best position. So there was complacency in that. Then there was complacency in their situational awareness. They allowed a guy to get on the roof that they should have been watching. I'm looking through the glass on my rifle. As soon as I see movement, I've already planned out the area. If I'm Secret Service and I've done the job right, I've mapped out the area. I know where I would take a shot from if I wanted to take a shot at the president, and then that's how they know where the most dangerous areas are. Anywhere where you have a clear view like that and a place you can lay down in prone position is going to be a danger, right? the fact that it was wide out in the open like that is crazy because you should never be able to get there. It's just too easy to take that person out. If I was a Secret Service agent, it would be way too easy to take that guy out before he could get to where he was at. And then so we have to understand that he was flipping and flopping around up there with camouflage on or some sort of BDU looking military type uniform. Anyway, gray man theory, the real gray man theory principles that I teach, being able to understand and read people, you would have known right away what this guy was showing red flags, right? So he's flipping and flopping around out there. At some point, he had to pull a rifle out, aim it at the president, and start taking shots. Any half decent security professional at a basic level, whack-and hut type guy that had a precision rifle with an optic on it would be glassing this guy. He would be looking at him and looking at this guy and watching what he's doing already while he was just getting on the roof, if the counter assault team let the guy get on the roof. So he's on the roof, I'm looking at him through the rifle glass, and I'm watching him pull out a weapon, aim it at the president, and take shots. There was just way too much opportunity to take this guy out way ahead of time. From what the videos look like, it didn't look like these guys even saw him until after he fired the shots, which is mind-blowing. And then how did this guy get on the roof? Because he had to get through law enforcement, he had to get through counter assault teams, he had to get through all these people all of these secret security uniformed suit and tie guys that are supposed to be watching the crowd. There's definitely people scanning. Nobody's scanning the rooftops, an open rooftop, only less than 200 yards away, possibly less than 200 yards away. So just crazy to me that this could even get this far. And so the biggest thing that we can take from this, now we talked about the sniper team, the counter assault team, I didn't have enough footage to where I could say fully that these guys weren't squared away. They might have been, and they might not have been able to see the roof from the angle that they were at, and they might have been closer to the president, but there should have been some guys somewhere watching the route up to the roof. And then it's crazy that civilians in the crowd could see this guy on the roof before anybody responded to the threat. So just complete law enforcement failure. Now, what we need as Americans and what us civilians can push for in a positive way is law enforcement training, getting experienced guys up there. And I think that we might even want to lower salaries, take away a lot of incentives from police officers. So maybe we can get people doing the job that actually want to do it, that do it because they enjoy it, that are not doing it maybe for the money, I don't know. And then we might even look at switching pretty much all of the funding that we're devoting to police forces to training, and take it away from equipment, take it away, let these guys buy their own gear. I think we should really start implementing maybe civilian or private policing forces, allow more private security so that private security can challenge police forces. I don't think police should be allowed to have any kind of a weapon that every single civilian in America shouldn't have. These are just principles that our country was founded on, right? If we didn't rely on the police so much for our security, then there would have been people there who were armed citizens that could protect themselves, and they would have taken that guy out. And the biggest thing is ego. We have given so much power to police that there's now so much of this thin blue line mentality where they don't see themselves as Americans. They see themselves as this occupying force, civilians versus police, that they almost see themselves like military. We're militarizing the police, and we're just creating more divisions in our country. So what we really need to do, guys, is just become more self-sufficient as Americans. And the biggest way to do that as citizens, biggest way to do that is to speak out for reinitializing what our country was formed on, and that's a small but effective government. Okay? Our country was founded on small but effective government. Our government has become too large, too overreaching, and now we've got this power control dynamic, and police don't have to be good at what they do. They've got so much power. It's all about ego, and we need to just get away from all that. And the only way we can do that is push for the limitation of government overreach. We need to start producing laws that restrict the government, not laws that restrict civilians, removing laws that restrict civilians, and trying to get to the point where we all come together as a nation and stand up for what's right and what are the principles that our nation was founded on. Thanks for watching. Bo now.